Rock and roll.
Okay, whenever you're ready. Good
I know
evening.
they've got longer things
I know,
here,
they're
but
very-
in my eyes.
Very long, but I hope they're powerful. Welcome to this evening's, which is Tuesday, October 9th, Board of Selectmen of Wenham's meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. A little bit past 6:30. And the first item on our agenda is, as always, public input for items that are not on the agenda. I don't believe there's anyone here to speak to something that's not on the agenda. Is that a true statement? Okay, if that's the case, we will move on to announcements, and as I think we're starting to get
I'm the lucky guy.
starting to get
I don't know
familiar with.
who designed this new challenge.
You got
know,
more than one this time.
We can
A
change
job.
it. We
There's a
can
whole laundry list here.
rotate the announcements if we desire. We're
All right,
anything.
Madam Chair,
But at the moment,
I would be pleased to do the
Thank
announcements.
you, thank you, appreciate it.
I'm going to go through the listing of them and then go through the little more detail following up to each item. So, our Wenham Fire Department open house will happen this Wednesday, tomorrow, October 10th. In honor of National Fire Prevention Week, everyone is invited to join the Sparky the Fire Dog. Where's our fire chief? He's supposed to be up here talking, not me. So we've got Sparky going to be here. The Wenham Fire Department is Wednesday, October 10th. It's from 5:30 on. It's an annual open house. There is pizza. Cherry Hill Creamery has ice cream there, and I'm sure there'll be some drinks. They will be teaching children and adults fire tips. They will be able to see the fire trucks up close. The fire department really wants everyone to come and participate. The second item on the list is the ribbon cutting ceremony on October 13th, which is this coming Saturday. If you would please come and join the Wenham Fire Department, the Board of Selectmen, and the Community Preservation Committee in celebrating the return of Enon 1, Wenham's historic fire pumper, which has been housed up in the town of Newbury for the last...
Well, 11 plus years.
Yeah, over a decade. I remember when it left here. So this will be happening behind the town hall in the new housing for this, for the fire pumper. This is one of, as I understand it, only 4 left in the country, and it's man-powered, human-powered, whatever you want to call it. No horses involved, no motors. So that'll be this Saturday. And, oh yeah, okay. Let's see. Oh, the flu vaccine clinic is happening because of the Board of Health. They're offering 2 additional opportunities to get your flu shots. Our Wenham Clinic, clinic will be held at the Bucher Elementary School on Wednesday, October 17th from 4 to 7 p.m. And the final flu clinic will be held Friday, November 30th from 3 to 6 p.m. at the Hamilton Senior Center. These are free of charge, and if you just bring your insurance card, anyone from the age of 4 and up is welcome to have this service. And then the COA, the Council on Aging, Friendly Needs Assessment presentation is going to happen Tuesday, October 16th at 3 p.m. at the Wenham Museum. And there'll be a presentation and consultants there from UMass Gerontology Institute, who have been working with the town officials, residents, and key stakeholders to complete a needs assessment for our senior population. So, that said, yep, so Papagino's Pizza is going to be available for the our firehouse open house. Cherry Hill Creamery will be providing the dessert, and the fire dog will be there. They do a great job with whoever gets into that costume. Again, Enon 1 is this Saturday, October 13th at 10 a.m. sharp. And it's a beautiful new shed up there with with a fire engine in it. Is that going to be pulled out for the day? Or
No, it's going to
just
stay
stay
in there, but
stay
we're going
in
to
there?
have the doors open.
Okay. And our DPW has done a great deal of work to prepare the site, and a lot of effort went in by the, what was the group called?
E91 working group.
E91 Working Group, there you go, how original, to find this housing and go through the process. I told you about the Cultural Aging Council, and there's a survey to be done. So, and the flu clinic, again, October 17th, 4 to 7 p.m. over at Bucher Elementary School, no charge. And then again, November 30th, from 3 to 6 p.m. over at the Hamilton Senior Center at 299 Bay Road.
What's that?
That's it.
Okay, next on our agenda, under reports, we have the town administrator's report. Peter, please.
Sure. Couple personnel updates. We talked about the finance assistant payroll coordinator position, and we've gone through the interview process now and have hired Christine Doan, who's actually a Wenham resident, to fill that position. She's gonna be starting in a few weeks, which is good news for everyone involved. Finance office has been running lean these past few weeks and few months, so she's got experience in both payroll and accounts payable, and so we're.
Could I ask her last name again?
Doan.
D-O-N-E?
D-O-A-N-E.
Okay.
So that's excellent news on that front. And then circling back to something that we've talked about a fair amount over the past year or so, our age-friendly community status. One of the things that we've been trying to make some progress on, fire and police have had some initial training on this, but we're bringing in the State Alzheimer's Association to do a specific training for town staff, so that we're, better able to serve residents who have dementia in our roles, and so that's happening later on this month.
Very good and very important to do. I'm very pleased with that.
Yeah. And then the next thing, we talked about Wreaths Across America looking for committee members in our last meeting or two. And they had their kickoff meeting. There's information up on the town website now about the sponsorship program. So it's $15 a wreath. They're looking to be able to decorate all 450 or so Wenham veterans who are at the Main Street Cemetery.
Correct. Can I add a couple of things in?
Absolutely.
Because I went to the meeting.
Yes.
I condensed it from an hour down to a half an hour, and we covered all territory, and then I got hooked into a few things to do. So Hamilton and Wenham apparently have been chosen by Wreaths Across America to do like a pilot program. Again, as Peter said, decorating each of the veterans' headstones in our main cemetery. Wenham has approximately 400, 450, and Hamilton has about 800. Again, that two-thirds, one-third number came up. Everybody looked at me funny at the meeting, and I said, it's a lot of history. Anyway, this is enormously important. As Peter said, they are $15 a piece. They come in boxes. They will be on a tractor trailer. I have offered my building and truck access and storage of these wreaths. The thing that we really need a lot of is donations and help acquiring those donations. As Peter said, $15 a piece, but with 4, you get 1 free. So it's not a big lift. It's probably in the tune of $400 to $500. So it wouldn't take a lot of contributions. So whoever can help on this would be great, so that this pilot program can get off, because the Wreaths Across America is still going to do what they do down in Arlington National Cemetery, and that is an enormous undertaking. So.
Is that organization or that farm going to be making these wreaths as well?
Yes. Yep. Yep, these will be coming out of Maine. They're up near the Canadian border.
And it's something that they started a couple years ago up in Newbury, and Karen's trying to follow on the model.
Oh, okay. Oh, she didn't add that in,
Yep.
okay.
And are all of our veterans buried in the Main Street Cemetery?
I don't believe all, no. But I think it's because it's a pilot program, they're looking to just do what they can
Yeah.
for this first year.
Yeah, this is a real trial
Yep.
program. There's not been a lot of time to assess everything the way it would normally be, but once we locate this, I've already got people volunteering for it from Wenham to help post them or put them out. You
Yeah,
know.
we talked a lot about, outreach, potential people and organizations to contact at our social services team meeting last week.
And the headstones will be identified fairly easily because there's usually flag holders at the headstone site. So, a little bit of help there.
Great, so they're
Thanks.
ready
Pete.
to begin taking donations? Information on the town website?
It's all on the
how
town
to do
website,
that.
or you can call Karen Tyler, who's our veteran service
Very
agent
nice.
at the Ipswich Town Hall. Yep.
Is that it
That's
for your report?
Mhm.
Okay, we'll move along to, again, another somewhat new, maybe not so new, part of our agenda now. We do have a short consent agenda. I will read the 3 items that are on the agenda, and John, if there's one that you wish to take off, please just say so. And this consent agenda includes 2 appointments: the Council of Aging Board, Francois Wilhelm and Dorothy A. Gowdy.
I have a question on that name.
Mm.
Any relation to Jack? Not that it matters?
I asked him. He
Okay.
said no, his family's German, not French. I think those were his exact words. The second item on the consent agenda are approval of minutes, 1 open session and 2 executive session, September 11th, 1 and 2. And thirdly, an acceptance of the Al Dodge Memorial Tree Planting Fund donation, which is $500. And just
500?
1,000.
5,000?
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an important zero. Thank you.
And
5,000, a
to
very
kind of
generous.
expand on that, the family has donated not only this fund, but a fair amount of, a very significant amount of money to the Al Dodge Memorial Project and also to our Scout Troop 28. So they've been a very generous family to this town in so many ways besides giving of their time.
Absolutely true. So the consent agenda motion is I move to approve items A, B, and C in the consent agenda as presented, with the first set of executive session meeting minutes from September 11th to be held until further notice.
I will second your motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that's the consent agenda. Under new business, I think you have the first item, John, the approval of the warrant, letter D.
Now, where to go?
I knew if I looked.
There you are. I knew I was looking for
That'll
you,
save you
but I hadn't gotten
some
that
money.
far. Yes. Diane Bucco,
Okay,
if you would please assist in this.
I would love to.
All right.
Evening, Tuesday, November 6th, 2018 is the state election, otherwise known as the midterm elections. Wenham voters vote at Town Hall from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Absentee ballots are now available by application. The application is on the clerk's page of the website or in the clerk's office. Early voting will also be available for this election from Monday, October 22nd through Friday, November 2nd. The early voting law states that we need to have early voting all hours, regular town hall hours, which are here in Wenham, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 9 to 4:30, Tuesdays 9 a.m. to 7, and Fridays 9 to 1. In addition to those hours, early voting, special early voting hours for Wenham voters will be also starting at 6 a.m. on those 2 Thursdays, October 25th and November 2nd, in hopes of getting those voters who jump on a train really early in the morning. Hopefully I can get them before they go. And also Saturday, October 27th, we will be doing early voting from 10 a.m. to 1. So with all that availability, I don't think there's any excuses left. For those new to voting or new to Wenham, the last day to register to vote for this upcoming election is Wednesday, October 17th. I believe that's next Wednesday by 8 p.m. You can register online at register2votema.com or through your clerk's office. I'll be open till 8 p.m. on Wednesday, October 17th. So a little bit of information on the election. Our election ballot shows there are 13 races, only 3 are uncontested, and 3 ballot questions. The Secretary of State has sent out the Red Book that reviews the questions. Should have been received in every household. And there's other important information in there as well. If you did not receive yours, there are additional copies at the library, and hopefully shortly I will have more in Town Hall. So I brought the warrant for the election to the Board of Selectmen. I believe you'll sign that today, and we will get that posted at least 7 days prior to the election. If you don't have any more questions, just want to thank you for the time, of course.
Do we have a constable?
We have 2 constables.
2?
Yes, we have
Whom are they?
Paul Mendonça, thank you, and Cal Perkins are our constables.
Oh, okay.
So when things need to be posted, I inform the police, and they send one of those young men over, and they post anything that's necessary at the library, at the Council on Aging, at the board outside the firehouse, and in Town Hall. And I post it online.
And I have one quick question.
Yes.
So voting online is available?
Registering online. Registering online is available.
Registering online. And it says that the deadline to register is October 17th.
Correct.
I presume that's also the deadline to register online?
It is.
Okay.
It is till midnight.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
Thank you
Diane.
very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Item E on our agenda is an evolving.
We've
Did I
got a
miss
motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, to actually accept the.
Motion on that, to approve the warrant.
Accept the warrant? Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be a good idea.
There we go.
Would you like to read the motion, or would you like me to?
Go right ahead. Look, I have it
Okay.
with your initials right on it.
I move the Board of Selectmen approve the warrant for the 2018 state election to be on Thursday, November 6th, 2018.
So that's Tuesday, November 6th.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tuesday.
I second that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Be quiet.
Aye.
I'll try not to skip out anything else important. So
You did say you wanted to move through this meeting.
Well, I know, I'm so intent on, so I'm just looking at our, so this, we actually have the warrant to sign as well
Correct.
for
Okay.
Yeah,
for later.
after the meeting, yep.
Okay. Okay, now I will move along on new business to letter E, which, as I started to say, is actually a bit of a evolving agenda item. The title of this agenda item, as it was when the agenda was written, is a proposed moratorium on new natural gas services by National Grid, and we have some representatives, I believe, from, I want to say representatives, gentlemen from National Grid, it's from the Steelworkers Union here tonight. But before we get, and you're welcome to speak, but before we do, just frame this for the public a little, because it's been moving fairly quickly. So we thank you very much for coming and sharing your concerns. And I think your concerns are about outsourced labor and during a contract dispute. But I think it's important for people to understand that the question before, or the question I think is being proposed, is a moratorium on natural gas services by National Grid. And actually, that has happened independently of the town of Wenham.
Coincidentally, last night.
Yeah, so just
Sorry.
today, I think the State Department of Public Utilities, DPU, has ordered National Grid to impose a moratorium on all gas work except emergencies and compliance work across the entire service area, pending the results of a review of National Grid safety practices. So considering this, I guess we understand that there are safety concerns now, we did before, but I'm going to ask you to, if you wouldn't mind, to share your reaction to this moratorium, if you think it will help, and any additional issues that you might have that are not addressed in the moratorium. So it's a little bit different conversation, but requesting a moratorium at this point is kind of moot, from Wenham anyway. So thank you. And if you just introduce yourself.
Certainly. My name is Keith Rice. I live at 128 Havel Road, Topsfield, and this is Jeff Hamill.
Jeff Hamill, 2 Kimball Road, Kensington, New Hampshire. We're both representatives for Steelworkers 1201204.
I'm sure you've all seen the news reports, and we won't belabor the point. I've been at the previous meetings, and we raised concerns to do with the replacement workers that National Grid was using during the lockout. And as I said at the previous meeting, we've been documenting violations that the replacement workers have been doing, and we reported those to OSHA and the DPU. And both of these agencies are conducting investigations on what we reported. Unfortunately, the DPU seems to react after something happens, instead of taking a proactive approach and holding the companies accountable before these incidents happen. So, in our opinion, there's nothing preventing the town of Wenham, for example, from passing a stronger, more stringent moratorium, or even passing an ordinance which holds the safety of your citizens above the profits of National Grid. In our view, this ordinance should state no non-emergency work in the town of Wenham until the lockout is over and the workers who are normally do the work are back in their jobs. I think that if you were to adopt a moratorium, or consider it in addition to what the state has come out with, it would probably hold the company a bit more accountable. Nobody really knows who these investigators are going to be conducting, during the course of the lockout. And in our opinion, you could certainly, go a little bit further than what they're proposing. We'd be happy to take any questions that come to mind, but it seems pretty straightforward given all the events of the past, month or so.
John, you had a couple of questions?
I do. First of all, thank you very much for being here. We obviously have seen you before. I've met you privately, off-site. I've gotten a full view of the story. Thank you very much for the information provided in our binder today that Peter had. Both the photographs and the information is very helpful. This issue did, as Catherine said, change complexion overnight, literally overnight. But that doesn't mean there aren't literally concerns in the public. In the town of Wenham, as you recall, back in March or April, we had a 40-foot plume of gas coming out of the pavement for over 2 hours. And I'm not saying that was attributable to the action you're dealing with here, but maybe it was, to be determined. But my concern is that the public, the residents of Wenham, realize that their management is on top of this game, and we have been for some period of time, long before Andover and Woburn happened. Gas is a very wonderful thing to have. It's a great fuel. It's very efficient, economical, and so forth, but it is a volatile fuel. I deal with it at the corporate property that I manage in Beverly. I've had my run-ins with the gas company over gas leaks and the fact that they don't necessarily respond. So we want to get management in here too, to get some have a better view from management as well as you folks who are more of the boots on the ground, and I respect that highly. But my clear message to the folks tonight listening is that we take this very seriously because it's a life and death issue, and thank you for bringing a lot of this to our attention some time ago. So
you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have nothing else.
okay.
Okay. Thank you for coming.
Okay,
We'll
thank you.
Thank you.
keep your thoughts in mind and
Yep.
be
good.
obviously monitoring this, the safety of our residents as well as all in the area are very obviously very important to us. So we'll continue to monitor the situation. We'll continue to get updates. If we have further questions, we'll make sure.
Yeah, I do think it's important for the board to know, and for the residents to know, that we don't have any current open permits with National Grid for any new services to be pulled at this time. So previous to the moratorium, there were a handful over the summer months, but those have since been completed.
Yeah, as I said, as you were saying, you know, it's unfortunate that the reaction comes because of a problem. It's a reactive as opposed to proactive.
Exactly.
I'm a guy that manages a lot of functions and a lot of property, and it's rare when I'm caught short because I'm constantly looking to see what could cause a problem. Where are we short? Where are we not doing something right? And that should be the framework of this company, but it's a very large company, and it's a British-owned firm. So Wenham is a dot on a map somewhere. You know, can't see it from England. So.
And the DPU did send a letter, which is in the packets, to National Grid back on September 27th, going through all of the incidents that had been reported to them and looking for follow-up from National Grid on each of those. And National Grid has 30 days to respond. And that's my interpretation of the moratorium, is that's essentially carried through until at least, at the very earliest, the DPU receives a response back. And then generally speaking, and certainly in Wenham in particular, there's no new services unless there's an emergency from November 15th to April 15th. So there isn't any service work being done at that time anyways.
Well, I trust you'll stay on top of it with us and that sort. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is John's, and it has to do with amending the Open Space and Recreation Committee charge, and it's section F. And I'm going to make a suggestion that you read the motion, and then we have, after it's seconded, the discussion, because the motions in the next two items actually frame the issue pretty well, and they're right in the front of the packet, and then I won't forget to make them. Or ask someone else to make them, so if you could do that, well, that'd be great.
All right. I move the Board of Selectmen adopt the proposed revision to the Open Space and Recreation Committee charge to set the numbers of members at 7, and further to request feedback from the committee on any suggested modifications to their change, including potential incorporation of overlapping elements of the original charge of the Economic Development Committee.
And I will second that.
Are there some comments?
I'm wondering if Peter would like to
Give us an
Yeah.
overview as
give
to
us a
Sure.
little more details on
Functionality.
that.
Yeah, so if you remember, originally back over 2 years ago now, we were soliciting letters of interest from residents to serve on the newly reconstituted Open Space and Recreation Committee. A good issue to have. We had an abundance of interest. I think we had somewhere on the order of 16, 17, maybe even 18 residents who initially wanted to serve on the committee. Ultimately, the number of seats on the committee in the original charge was set at 9. And over the past few years now, that the committee has been meeting and working with a consultant on updating the plan, which they have now done. That number of active members has gotten smaller and smaller, so they're now at just 4 members. And so technically, quorum is determined by the number of total available seats on a committee, so they can't meet quorum with just 4 people. So that's the recommendation, to revise the number down to 7. And then more broadly, they've obviously been, when we originally put the charge together, it was our best guess at the work that they needed to do and how they were going to go about it. And They've been at it for 2+ years. We've got a plan now submitted to the state. We have an action plan over the next 2 years that, this board is going to be involved in. There's a lot of work to be done. And so the thought was that we go back to them and ask them, what they think should be changed to reflect what they have been doing, what they're going to be doing, and also to look at the Economic Development Committee charge because they haven't met, that committee hasn't met in over a year. There was some overlapping, intersecting elements of the two charges that I think were a little confusing, at least to the Economic Development Committee. And so I think it'd be helpful to have the feedback from the committee that's been active, the Open Space Committee, relative to that, so that the board then can make a decision on what changes, if any, they want to make to the charge going forward. I know that when we had our goal-setting session in August, sorting through the direction future of the Economic Development Committee in particular was one of the items that was discussed. And so that would address that. And just as a side note, but it is, I think, important in the scheme of things, in the 7-year action plan that was submitted to the state, the Economic Development Committee wasn't included as a responsible party just because there was a lot of uncertainty around what their role was, what it was going to be, and so that's just something to take into account as we go through this over the next month or so.
I have a comment and a question.
Yep.
First of all, thank you very much for really helping shepherd this through a rather challenging path. Having 18 members, it was a little bit daunting. I wish we could get that kind of response on all kinds of things, but that's what it is. So my comment for the public particularly is we are now legal, meaning we've met the requirements of the Commonwealth of Mass so that we can apply for grants and other means of funding sources, and they have us on file and on record in Boston.
Almost, not quite.
Well,
yeah.
That's the ultimate goal.
They're going through
after the paperwork gets in
exactly.
place.
There's a formal review period, but we've submitted our portion. I expect them to give some kind of commentary back to us, but yes, for all intents and purposes, we are at the finish line.
So to the efforts of all the folks that were on this committee, thank you very much. And we now have a path and a direction in which to follow, meaning where are we going from here? And that's still, some of that's still to be determined, but we've got a good direction from you. My question is, why are you proposing 7 when you know you have 4? What do you do with the other 3?
I think there's, to be honest, a lot of really important work. If you go through just the next 2 years in the action plan, and so I'm hopeful that, now that a plan's been finalized and we're kind of moving on to the next phase, if we can re-energize the group with a new charge and try to get the word out that we would
so if we authorize 7, that'll give us 3 places.
Vacancies to fill.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That was the idea there.
But they could meet with a quorum of 4.
Without any issues.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. I'm done.
I don't have any further comments on this. I think it all sounds right to me, so I'm ready to vote whenever you are.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye?
It's unanimous of 2. 2 of 2. Okay. What do we have next? I think I'm going to follow the same pattern. The next item on our new business agenda, item G, is review and potential approval of proposed, sometimes the titles are longer than the motions, proposed minor modifications to shared inspectional services intermunicipal agreement with Hamilton. That being said, I think the motion is pretty clear, and I don't mean to stop discussion at all, but let's really follow Robert's rules, and I will start, this is mine, I think I'll start with the motion and then we'll have any discussion. So I move the Board of Selectmen approve the proposed changes to the inspectional services intermunicipal agreement with the town of Hamilton to accurately reflect the September 1, 2018 start date and proper title of the Inspector of Buildings under this new shared program. Is there a second?
I will second your motion.
Okay, now, I think hopefully that will make your discussion a little.
Yeah, this is
Shorter?
really ministerial, but something we hadn't anticipated when we were drafting the IMA back last winter, and well, it was really last winter that it was approved. It was before town meeting. So obviously, it took a little longer than we had initially hoped to formally launch the program, and it was really the hiring process that you know, took a little longer than anticipated. And so it really is just to reflect that fact, because there was no proper way for Wenham as the lead community to prorate for the fact that it started September 1 instead of July 1. And so that's all that is intended to do with these changes. And also to reflect when we originally envisioned the full-time position, we had thought it would be a building commissioner initially, and shifted it to inspector of buildings as we went through the process. So that's really all the changes that are in there.
I guess I only have one question, and it's a perfunctory one. I have to presume that Hamilton has seen these changes, and hopefully
They have
it's
indeed.
okay with them.
Yep.
So we don't,
I can
we can,
confirm that.
okay. That's the only question I have. Did you have any questions?
More of a comment for the general public. Again, I think all of you who listen often to this show realize that I've had some very serious concerns and problems with our inspectional services, the qualifications, quality of performance, and other things of that nature. This has now been fully reviewed. We have new people in place as for our building inspector, our electrical inspector, our plumbing inspector, which also covers the gas, as we were just talking about. And some of these are very, have high liability to them. And we want to make sure that we have people in place who respond and who know what they're doing and are fully educated and prepared to deal with it. So I'm very pleased to have this in place now, and then it's hopefully going to save us, our town, some money, because trying to have a full-time, any one of these people on, it would be very, very expensive. And we are the lead town, so we have the controlling aspect to these services, and we will make sure that everybody's served the way they're supposed to, and from a safe point of view. So.
Yeah, and
That's
I will
it.
say operationally, it's been a really relatively smooth transition. No major issues at all, which is a testament to the.
Oh, you mean thus since we've.
Yeah, since we
started.
formally launched, testament to the groundwork that was laid beforehand, and to the new employees that were hired, to the other employees, certainly our counterparts over in Hamilton. It's all gone very well. And just a clarification, not a new plumbing and gas inspector. Kevin Dash was in that role for both towns, is still in that role for both towns, but certainly the building inspector and the electrical inspector are new.
Sorry, Kevin. I didn't know him at all, and that's
No.
kind of surprising to me.
I feel
but
like he was rather tall, though.
Very
when
tall,
When we did
yes.
meet him. That's how I'm going to remember.
I've seen his trucks 1,000 times around, but
Okay, well, I'm glad that we have the, certainly glad that we have the agreement in place, not only in principle, but in practice. So that's a big check mark, a big box checked off. And I think we'd appreciate continued periodic updates on how it's going in the first
Absolutely.
year or so.
Yep.
We'll probably be hearing about the launch of the new e-permitting program in the near future,
Yeah.
hopefully sooner than later. And we've been working on Hamilton to coordinate our launch of that, ideally syncing it up at the same time.
Be great.
I do have one last comment, and that is a thank you to the town of Hamilton for supporting this effort and having confidence in the town of Wenham to lead this very important part of our operation. So thank you, Hamilton, very much.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, we'll proceed to a vote. You ready for that?
I am.
All in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous.
Are we done yet?
No, almost. We have a very heartwarming issue next, and I
Oh,
think it
yes.
actually is
Oh, yes. Oh,
John's.
yes.
And
Oh,
it's once
yeah.
again an intermunicipal agreement having to do with the city of Lawrence and the Bucher playground equipment. So that's yours, John.
Yes. Now,
This is
I don't see a vote
informational
here, is
only, I
There
think.
is not a motion yet. This is informational at this stage.
Okay.
Because of, procedurally, I figured that we would want to make sure that the Lawrence City Council had gone through their own review process and had no issues with
so-
the intermunicipal agreement before we
so
approved
this is
it.
not quite finished yet.
Yeah, so right now, my understanding, talking to their city solicitor, is it's going to be taken up by their city council next week, then going to be sent to committee for review, and then ultimately approved the second week of November. So before we got too far along in the process with Lawrence, I wanted to make sure that, that the board was comfortable with the IMA drafted and with the overall arrangement, so that we could communicate that to Lawrence, so then they could go through and then let us know if they had any issues or if they approved it as is.
Okay, so for the public, I guess this is just sort of a overview, so that you know what we're doing and how we're going about it. Our neighbors to the north, the city of Lawrence, they have their share of challenges, as probably most people know. Their mayor, their relatively new mayor, I think he's, what, about a year or two now?
No, he was, I actually got to know Mayor Revere when I was working in Newburyport, so he's been mayor now for at least 4 years.
Oh, it's been that long? Oh, how time flies. Anyway, has its challenges, and we in Wenham have the good fortune of a set of playground equipment over at the Bucher School, which by the school committee's guidance apparently is being replaced. So,
Yeah.
or
It has
It
been.
has, oh, it's in place already?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Installed over the summer.
So what Peter has authorized through this board is for our DPW to disassemble all the components of the old equipment and then set it aside and mark it and so forth, and it will be picked up by the town, City of Lawrence employees and then reinstalled in one of their playgrounds up in Lawrence. So it, as Catherine said, it's really kind of a heartwarming way of doing Christmas in October. So I'm very happy that we're doing this, and thank you, Peter, for making all the connections to it. And
Yeah, it was really Peter's initiative. He thought of it, and he
Yeah.
made it happen, so thank you very much for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
'Cause it would be thrown out otherwise.
Yeah, that was the plan.
Yeah.
We reached out to the school and they said they had no other use for it, and it's still in relatively good condition. And so, I reached out to the mayor of Lawrence, and they plan to install it at Donovan Park, which is coincidentally connecting back to our earlier conversation, in the neighborhood that was impacted by the natural gas
That's right.
explosion and fires just a couple weeks ago. So
So that's nice.
Yeah.
So thank you.
okay, so I guess we'll see this come up again for final
yeah,
disposition.
it'll be on the agenda in November, just depending on the timing. One of the
Okay.
meetings in November.
Thank you, Peter.
So that's the conclusion of our new business. We have one item of old business, which is a discussion of updated employee handbook, which I've been told is not quite ready for prime time yet. And so therefore, we're going to postpone that item of business to a future agenda, hopefully the next, but the next agenda. So that being said, we have completed our business for the evening, and I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Madam Chair,
And
and
so-
I trust our missing man formation will be back in
I
full.
think that's true.
Yeah, we'll be
Tilt.
back for the October 23rd meeting. I'll be there.
Okay.
first time we'll have,
Been together and, well, we've had a lot of meetings in a row, which
Well,
has
right.
made it seem even more.
But I did check in with him when he got back from being away earlier, and, oh, I watched that on television. He's
Wow.
right on our track.
Glad. I'm sure he's going to give us a review.
So Jack, if you're looking at this, we'll welcome you come back.
And just so that we're legal, I will second the motion to adjourn, because there's no one else here to do that, and we should probably vote to adjourn.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.